welcome to another crafty video. Today's one is looking at the Create and Make number 6, which is called the Fairy Tale Castle. I know I said I wasn't going to be doing up close videos for a bit, but I felt like filming one for this, so I'm not going to call it an up close video. I'm just going to call it the name of the Create and Make, but it's just going to be looking at the dies and showing you the couple of samples that I created. But this little Create and Make set is one of their 6x6 die sets, but you can actually create well, a decent sized three-dimensional project from it, but you can also add a second story to your castle as well. Or the other castle that I've created, I think you could put 4 of them at corners and turn it into a really big castle. But you could do that with this one as well, but I specifically thought of it with the other castle that I've created. But we'll go through the die set first, and then I'll go through the 2 samples that I created. So you have all of the dies that you need on this small little 6x6 die set, so it's perfect if you don't have much of a budget but you want something new to be able to create that's sort of three-dimensional. I had also planned out some cards to do with this set, but the reason why I'm doing that up close video is because I think I'm going to run out of time before I have time to film me making the cards. So I'll just tell you my ideas for cards, but I was just thinking this sort of a window, it could be a church window, and you could just have, you know, your rectangular kind of card with maybe 3 or 4 church windows going across it. Do a little bit of ink blending in the background to be bricks, and just turn it into like a simplified sort of church kind of card for a wedding card. You could obviously just take the elements of the castle and either cut it into the card or cut the pieces and put them onto the card to make it look like a castle. You could maybe have if I get a piece of card like this, you could either have like maybe the turret of the castle here, and then, you know, add another piece of castle and maybe put the little I'm not sure what they're called. It's not a portcullis, is it? That's the gate that comes down. I'm not sure what those are called. Maybe like a battlement or something. And you could have like the one tower with the little bit of like the up and downy wall going across here. Or maybe you could do it this way and have a larger piece of wall going across here. And you could maybe even have, if you've got some stamps of little princesses or knights or dragons and things, and you could have like a cool medieval kind of castle. You could do it in more like sandstone colours and have it more like a historical kind of castle, more like Hampton Court Palace or the Tower of London or something like that. So there's lots of ways of using that die to create different elements. And I also thought I was going to do a card that had this as an aperture, because I thought it would look really cool as an aperture, because it's an octagonal piece that has the glue tabs on, but obviously to cut the sort of piece with the glue tabs on out, you then have these like points coming in at every corner of the octagon, which I thought might be a cool effect on a card, and maybe even doing it this way as well so it looks slightly different. Maybe you could make this look like a torn kind of element, like someone like a lion or something ripping through the front of a card. So I think that's a nice versatile die too. Plus you also get some other octagons in here, so you could build an octagonal pattern. And in Hampton Court Palace in particular, I often look at the floor in there when I've been in there, because it has like this really cool octagonal pattern with squares in between the octagons. So although you can't make a tessellating pattern with octagons like you can with hexagons, you can do an octagon pattern that then has squares where 4 octagons would meet. So you can do that as well, maybe just cutting the squares with your paper trimmer, or if you've got a square die that tends, or like that happens to match the length of either of these octagon shapes, you could do something really cool like that. You also have this little die here, which is supposed to be a windowsill for the windows of your little castle. You can make it as a little windowsill, but it could also be like a tiny little bench for something. You know, like a little character could sort of be sitting on a little bench. I think you could use this in a few different ways. Maybe even that way up it could look like something from a video game, like a little Space Invader or something. So I think there's lots of pieces in here that would be very useful for other applications, and these pieces as well. Obviously they're like the window pieces, or this piece cuts a little skinny window frame, but you also get the fall away piece from the centre. So if you want any of your windows, instead of cutting them into your castle, if you want the windows to have a border around the edge, you can actually use those two in conjunction with each other to get your window with the borders around, and then you'll also get the skinny little frame as well. I've only used the skinny frames on my 2 castles, and I used this window to cut into this castle, and I just used the opening on my other castle as well. So you can also use those kind of pieces. And what I was saying about, you know, turning it into a church, you could just have 3 or 4 of these windows going across the card, using that outside piece to give it a frame. So you've actually got the kind of window design. You can use the gorgeous foliage piece that's in here, or if you have other Tonic die sets, they're always putting in gorgeous pieces of foliage and little flowers and things as well that you could use. Yeah, I just think it's a nice little set actually for all of the little pieces that you could do lots of different bits and pieces with. And I would usually have made a few cards, but I haven't got enough time to this month. But I've got gorgeous little flowers in here as well. You've got more of a slightly pointed 8-petal flower, a really rounded 8-petal flower, and then you've got 2 4-petaled flowers, which can be perfect for lucky shamrocks or clovers and things as well. So this could be like a little good luck castle, and it could have little clovers all over it rather than actual flowers as well. So it's a nice versatile little set, I think. And let's have a look at the actual dies and which dies you use to create what parts of the little box. So this is the actual box that it creates, one singular little castle turret, and then you pull the lid off like this, and then this is the inside of the box. But you could definitely, if you were creating more of a 3-dimensional kind of thing, like maybe for example you've already got the Ferris wheel, the ice cream van, the twirling teacups, you're trying to think of the other ones in the kind of range, like the carousel, all those ones. Maybe you were building like a really fun sort of theme park or carnival or something, maybe to sort of go in between food on a party table or something. This, you could use parts of this to create a cool like castle that could be like a spooky castle for like a ride at a theme park, or you could turn it into more of like a bouncy castle to go with like a carnival kind of theme as well. And you could just use the interior turrets and build something yourself to join them all together too. So there's different ways of using these pieces as well. But to create this inner kind of turret castle portion, you have this die here, which you cut 4 times to give you all 8 sides of your little tower. And then you also have this die, which you cut once, and that gives you the base for your tower, and then each of the sides will stick to all of the tabs on the edge of this piece. So that's the interior piece, and then as well as using these 2 pieces to create the main portion of it, you also have this piece here, which you might be thinking, what's that for? Well, it's for the insides of these sticky up pieces, which I'm not sure what they're called. I think it is a battlement, but I'm not sure. But it's for the inside of those to strengthen them. So you can put them on, if you fold it the opposite way, so normally you'd fold this as a mountain if you were using it as like a glue tab or something, but if you fold it as a valley and then stick it on, you get the pretty side sort of showing on the inside of the little turrety pieces as well. And that just strengthens them because they go through the slits in the top of this one. You want them to be nice and sturdy so they don't get bent as you're kind of like taking the lid off and putting it back on again. And then also on the bottom of this box, you also have this piece that you can use to just sort of add a little bit of decoration to the bottom of the box, because the lid comes down to here and has a curved portion on it. So then you have this little panel to kind of finish that bottom end off. So you've got that piece. Then, to create the top piece that goes on top, you have this portion here, which originally I thought, oh, it must go up this way. You'd have like the curved piece at the top, but it doesn't go up that way. It goes up this way, and they've given you the actual spot of where your window should go, which is really nice. So you could, if you wanted to, put a window in both sections, but they've given you the sort of guide for exactly where your window will go, whichever of the 3 designs you want to cut straight into your castle. So you can cut them straight in by placing that decorative die into this and then die cutting them both together. It's really handy for getting the placement perfect, so they're all the same level going round, and it means that you're getting one window on each panel So there'll be a window on every other side of your octagon going round as well. And you can just slot in whichever window you want. If you want more of a normal kind of window, just with the sort of straight line down the middle, horizontal lines across it, you can go with more of like a crisscrossy, medievally, church windowy kind of window, or you can just go for the aperture as well if you just want a window aperture too. It looks really nice on the second one that I've made. I've just used the aperture. So you've got those. Then also for this one, you're going to need the larger octagon to create part of the top of the box, but and you need to cut 4 of those as well to give you the 8 sides, but also to be able to stick the lid on the top of this. You'll see that this only has glue tabs to stick all 4 panels together to make the circle. It doesn't have glue tabs on the top or bottom. The bottom doesn't need them because that's just going to be sitting on top of the bottom of the box, but the top does need glue tabs, and they've done this, it's really clever actually. You have to cut 8 of these and 1 goes on each of the sides. You line these ones up like this, so just that fold line is sort of folded over the top of the box, and then once that's stuck onto the side of the box, you take the largest octagon and you would stick those straight up to those triangles, and so all of these triangles meet to create an octagon inside there. So what you want to do is cover one of these in adhesive and put it inside, and then you can stick all the triangles to it, and then you can take another one and stick it over the top. And then I also added another one as well of the smaller size, just to add a little bit of extra interest, and also to hide the top of this little bit of foliage that I wanted to put coming down from the top of the castle as well. And then that's basically all of the construction for the castle, and then the other pieces are all decorations. So I was already talking about the windows before and the little outline sort of piece for the window. You've got this, which is the little windowsill as well. You've got centres of flowers, and then you've got the 2 larger flowers, the 2 smaller flowers, and then you have this gorgeous piece of foliage, plus you also have this piece of grass as well, but this is actually wider than the base here, so you can, if you want to, cut this out of one colour and put this on over the top out of a different colour, whether you're having it as a vine climbing upwards and then grass growing upwards, or a vine coming downwards and then just sort of shrubbery at the top as well. You can kind of do it whichever way you want to. So I'll put all of these away and then I'll come back and show you the samples properly. So this is the first one that I've made, and the way you put the box back together is you slide the top one onto the bottom one. It is a little bit tricky just because those pieces that help make the top of the lid, you know, the little triangle pieces with the glue tab, it's the glue tab that the turrets are kind of catching on a little bit, but if you keep wiggling it, it does go down as it's supposed to and the little turrets pop out of the top, but it takes a little bit of wiggling to get the lid to go back on nicely. But doesn't it look really gorgeous when it does? And having the differences in colours, adding this little extra panel at the bottom, I've just used a Tonic brick stencil to add a bit of design onto there as well, just using some black soot ink really lightly with one of the precision blending brushes to add that on, and that just makes a really cute castle. And then the other one, I wasn't planning on doing this for the other one. I was cutting it out of a lighter colour to kind of make it more of a sandstone coloured castle rather than like old brick kind of castle. Although sandstone would be brick, but you know what I mean, the different kind of colours of brick. But then I thought, a sandcastle. I'd actually cut it out of a colour of card called sand, so I was like, well, why don't I just turn it into a sandcastle? And this is the one I was thinking, if you made 4 of these and put little walls between them, it would look more like one of those, you know, sandcastles that the big square buckets kind of make, with the 4 turrets on the corners with the walls joining them. And you could do all sorts of different stuff inside of it, and there are tons of different nautical themed dies that Tonic have done over the years. Like, I'm sure there was a 5x7 frame that had maybe it was a ship's wheel and a ship's anchor and a seagull and things like that in it, and a sailing boat. We had that Ahoy Matey set as well that had like the rubber ring lifesaver in it and an anchor. We've had stamp clubs that have had like whales and things in, so I'm sure there are tons of things in your stash that you could use to decorate this. I went for See You Soon as a sentiment on there, which is from the Under the Sea Shakers and Sentiments die sets, which came out not too long ago. I think within the last year they came out. And then the crabs and the shells that I've used on here are from kit number 61 as well, if you have that in your stash. And I've used just the opening as the window, because I thought, you know, if you're making a sandcastle, it's not going to have actual windows, it's just going to be sort of areas where you've carved into it. So I've kind of done a gorgeous little sandcastle. And then to get all of the sort of a bit of interest and like a speckling detail onto there to kind of look like particles of sand, I went for Aspen Gold mica mist and also Ivory Sheen mica mist, and splattered them on. Then I also took a brown Aquaflow, mixed it with the Aspen Gold and splattered that as well, so we got like a pearly mica-y brown splatter. And then I also took some Picket Fence Distress spray stain and splattered that on to give the white effect on there, because I don't think Tonic have anything that's white to be able to splatter. I couldn't think of anything off the top of my head, unless you water down a mousse and splatter with that. You definitely could do that too, but just to give a speckly kind of effect all over the cardstock. And then I've just used different mousses to add a gorgeous shimmer to the cardstock that I cut the sort of shells and the crabs out of. And I did a couple of crabs in the same sand colour, because you know there are little tiny crabs on the beach that kind of blend into the sand and you can hardly see them. So I did some that stood out and then some that were the colour of sand as well, just to create a different kind of look with this gorgeous little fairy tale castle. So you can go traditional fairy tale and maybe bring in princesses, knights and dragons and things, or you can think of different sorts of castles. What about a chess piece, you know, the tower or castle piece on a chessboard? Even like adapting this and not having the turrets on some of the boxes and turning them into the other kind of pieces of a chessboard and making a giant three-dimensional chess set as well. And then you could just make a chessboard that has squares that are about 3 inches by 3 inches, and you could actually play with a gigantic chess set as well. So tons of different ways of using this gorgeous tiny little create and make die set, which is number 6, and it's called the Fairy Tale Castle. So if you want to get hold of this die set, there will be affiliate links in the description box below the video, and I really do appreciate you using those links. It's in the description box below the video. Next to the title it'll kind of say more or have a little 3 ellipsis. You can click that, and you might have to click it again, and then it will bring up the whole description underneath the video, and it will have like a little introduction. It will say this is the link to my blog post, which you can go to there to click the link, or if you scroll down a bit further there'll be the product list with all the links listed below as well. And I really do appreciate you taking the time to click on those links, and I know you use them a lot, Vicky, and I'm very appreciative of that as well. So thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you again in the next one. Bye!